I got a question for you. How many people out there love their telecommunication company? It's a rhetorical question, but a lot of you have been hearing about the Verizon strike. I know I have, and it's an important story, but I think a lot of us want to know more about it, and I think it's good to talk about why it's important. And if you want to know about a strike, my philosophy is ask a striker. So joining us now is Tom Crawford. Tom is the Western Region Vice President for Local 13,000 of the Communication Workers of America, CWA. That's a statewide local for Pennsylvania. And he's going to join us now to talk a little bit about the strike, what the strike's about, and what might happen next. So, Tom, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Greatly appreciated.
Oh, absolutely. So listen, first of all, let's start with this. For those who might not know in the audience, I think a lot of our listeners will know about the strike, but for those who don't know, what are you guys striking for?
We're striking for good middle-class jobs, trying to keep the jobs in Pennsylvania as they attempt to close call centers, move jobs out of town. And for our technicians, we're trying to keep them at home. They want to be able to move them out of town 60 days at a time, basically destroying families.
So you got a couple issues there going. One of them is how much people can be relocated. Number two is moving the call centers to where, by the way, do they want to move them?
Philippines, Mexico, Taiwan, anywhere where they can pay somebody $1.98 an hour to answer a phone, where a qualified technician should be answering it here in Pennsylvania.
So when you say qualified technician, we're really talking about, if I'm having a problem with my service, with my connection. I mean, these are technical questions we're talking about. So you're really talking about, the kinds of frustrations people sometimes have. I think you are, but you tell me, where people might, even from a consumer point of view, where you're talking about the customer calls in, they want answers, and they want somebody who knows what they're talking about, not somebody who's working off a script who's going to run them around in circles. That's really kind of what you're talking about, right?
Absolutely. And we've all dealt with it. You call in, you get somebody who, one, doesn't speak English, doesn't understand what you're saying, and that's after being on hold for 45 minutes or an hour. And then when they have no understanding of what your problem is or how to fix it, it's even delays and delays and delays the process. So if we could have our qualified technicians who built this company, been maintaining it for forever, if we could continue to maintain it, the customer would have a smoother, quicker, get back in service to what we want to be doing.
Right. And ironically, although they might not realize it, might help people stick with Verizon too. But I do want to throw in at this point too that, a lot of people, when they talk about union actions, keeping jobs here at home, they don't realize, I think, there's this counter argument that says, well, what about workers overseas? Don't they have a right to jobs too? But my attitude is you're not doing anybody a favor when in another country, when you outsource a job at subsistence wages. I mean, workers everywhere should be fighting, for their own rights. And I think there's solidarity there. But in this case, we have an American company with an American history to it and American workers serving American customers. I think that makes sense for everybody.
Absolutely. We're the ones buying cars, buying houses, buying groceries. We're the ones making the economy run here by sending those dollars overseas. It has nothing to help America.
So now talk to me a little bit about this issue of that's the outsourcing, the offshoring piece of this. But talk to me also about the relocation of technicians. What's that about?
Well, they've cut our forces to the point that there's barely enough people to maintain the plant the way it is now. Last summer, the week that we went into bargaining, they laid off 44 technicians in the western part of Pennsylvania. And these are the qualified technicians that are installing the FiOS, that are in your houses, that, all of them had over 10 years service. And as soon as that happened, they started forcing the rest of the techs 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. So now, whenever there's a FiOS build or a project or anything going on, they want to be able to move you away from your house, put you up in a hotel for 60 days at a time. That's no way to raise a family. That's no way to have a living.
No, I would agree with you on that. We're talking with Tom Crawford of the Communication Workers of America. There's also an issue here of the pensions, and I'm not sure I know everything about that, but I've heard that they want to cap the pensions 30 years or something like that.
Right. They want to cap your pension at 30. First, you have to take the option of continuing your pension or taking a 401k. And if you take your pension, they want to cap it at 30 years. And if you have more than 30 years, they want to freeze it in place. And if you make that option to continue with your pension, like say me, for example, with 29 years, I'd like to get to the 30. Even once I got to the 30, I wouldn't be able to put into my 401k. So basically my retirement would be done at 30-year service.
Yeah, which is targeting the people that have served the company the longest, I would argue.
So they could get rid of the qualified, more skilled senior people and replace them with contractors is their attempt.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about contractors for a second. How much are contractors being used by Verizon?
They want to expand them and use them for a multitude of things, locating fibers, splicing when they can. But we, right now, currently, we're keeping them from using contractors to the best of our ability.
Well, we know
if you've been watching during the strike, these contractors are the scabs that are out there performing our work, and they're absolutely putting the public in jeopardy, in harm's way, and it's scary what the type of work they're doing out there.
So you guys went, let's see, you guys have been working without a contract, as I understand it. And by you guys, obviously, I mean men and women. That's just the way, I talk. But
I do the same thing all the time.
Yeah. So you folks have been working without a contract since last August, right? You went out on strike April 13th. Now, the latest we hear this week, was it this week? Yeah, this week, that the Obama administration has stepped in. What does that say to you?
That says a lot to me. I've been a union official most of my career, and this is the first time I've heard the government getting involved to the point of the Secretary of Labor stepping up and actually taking control of the negotiations.
So does that mean that Secretary of Labor is actually sitting down in the room with Verizon execs and CWA folks and saying, okay, you guys work it out?
Yes, he is sitting in the room with those and the IBW also, those three groups, trying to get a good resolve for this very bad situation.
So, yeah, why do you think he's doing that? I mean, I agree with you. It definitely sends a signal that it's an important strike. So I could tell you why I think it's important. You could tell me why you think it's important. Why do you think they think it's important?
I think they see what's going on in America, that these corporations that are making billions of dollars, Verizon alone is making $1.8 billion a month so far this year, a month. That's ridiculous. So to make those kind of profits and continue to close work centers and send jobs overseas, I think the government sees that something has to change. We cannot continue down this path.
See, I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, it's more interesting radio when we argue, by the way. But I happen to agree with you on that one. I think that this is why I said in my introduction that I think that this is not just you guys fighting for a decent contract, although that's worth it of itself. I mean, that's a just cause as it is. But that said, I would also say that I think this is a case where the battle that Verizon workers are waging is a battle that a lot of workers are waging at a lot of different industries. And for many years now, we've seen large, highly profitable corporations taking advantage of their workers in any number of ways and getting away with it. And then I think to the extent that you win this, it sets a tone for other labor struggles. It sets a standard for how corporations like Verizon ought to behave instead of how they've been behaving, and it improves the economy because when guys like you folks, have more money in your pocket, that money gets spread around. The economy does better. So I'm hoping. I mean, maybe we'll ask somebody from the administration to come on to explain their reasoning, but I'm hoping that that's why they think this is important. I don't know. Any thoughts on that?
No, I agree completely. And I think it's not just us agreeing. I think the public sees it, and certainly the other labor organizations. This is the first strike I've been on that I've seen this much support from the general public, from obviously the other labor unions. I think everybody's been affected one way or another by a family member losing a job, by them moving call centers, by them closing manufacturing plants, and people are fed up with it. And
go ahead.
It's time we took the stance, and I think this was the right time.
You know, I think that's. I think people are fed up with it, and I think the public is sympathetic. I think Verizon knows that, and that might be why. Now, I'm just hazarding a crazy guess here, but it might be why Verizon. You know, there's reports saying that it's investigating 57 instances of network sabotage, saying the activity had quote unquote accelerated since the strike started. So it seems to me like it seems to me like they're trying to undercut sympathy for you guys. But what do you think about these accusations, lines being cut, or whatever they're saying is going on out there?
I don't believe them to be true. Our members are engaged in a peaceful strike. Some of the sabotage that I've seen pictures of and videos of are clearly not sabotage. And Verizon says it themselves. They can't say it's sabotage, and they can't say who's doing it. Obviously, in my opinion, it's because the replacement workers can't keep up with the demand of the work that we usually do. They're just simply trying to blame us. If our people were actually out there causing these problems, the police would be involved and there'd be arrests made. There's nothing is being said about it other than Verizon making false accusations.
You know, you raise an interesting point that frankly I hadn't thought of, Tom Crawford of CWE, which is, you know, if Verizon really thought there was sabotage going on, listen, if somebody sabotaged my home, I'd call the cops. Right? So
absolutely.
We haven't heard about the cops being called. We've seen pictures of lines down or whatever. But you'll raise a second point, which is if you have replacement workers who don't know, who are overloaded, you know, behind on their work and may not know the right thing to do, you could have instances of lines breaking or whatever. So
they showed a picture one time, and I saw it was called a fiber hub, where all the fiber comes in and out of the people's houses, and all the chumpers were clearly cut, and they said where it happened, there are no fiber hubs in that town. So obviously they're making stuff up.
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, it's important for our listeners to know too, because I think that's a way to kind of try to smear the strikers and maybe reduce sympathy for them. So, all right, you got the administration stepping in. You got a lot of attention on this now. You got a lot of support from Bernie Sanders, from other political leaders, from public figures, and so on. What do you think is going to happen now with this?
I wish I knew. All I know is we're going to keep fighting until we get a fair contract.
So you guys are in it. You guys, I mean, you know, Verizon said, "Oh, this is our last, best, and final offer." I guess you guys are going to hang in as long as it takes.
Well, 4 years ago, we were on strike for 18 days, and the company says we'll agree to mediation if you guys come back to work and take care of our customers. We fought for 14 months to get a contract. We're not going to be buffaloed again.
All right. Well, that's we're going to keep following this story and keep talking to you guys about it, because as we both said, it's important for a lot of reasons, not the least of which is that you guys deserve a decent middle-class job. So Tom Crawford of the Communication Workers of America, good luck, and thanks for coming on the program.
Thanks for having me.